Okay, this should be working. It says it's receiving content. Let's make sure it looks fine. Let's make sure the sound sounds good. Making sure everybody's happy, having a good day. Says I'm live. The internet can totally see you now. Okay, I don't know. How you guys doing today? Having a wonderful time? Having a good time? Hi, you're not happy? You want a little suck? Yeah, a little suck. Hi, Megan. Hi, RGQ. How you guys doing today? So today, we're basically, the whole thing is just, I haven't done a D&D stream in a while. I haven't done a D&D video in a bit. Just been a little busy. And then didn't know what video specifically to do. So I figured I'd take some questions. Because, I don't know. You guys ask me all the time. Literally all the time. On Twitter and stuff. I know you're playing Cards Against Humanity with the girlfriend. Why would you have an elongated dildo head? Ah, perfect. It's lasers. Hit me with your questions for last minute materials because I'll help you out. I like this. I'm actually currently helping Hugo out as much as I can because one of the reasons he's not on the stream right now is he is prepping tomorrow's D&D session because one of our players is gone and he's going to do a one-shot for us. So Hugo is going to run his first game tomorrow. Let's scramble away, Wayland Vollander. Let's scramble. Let's do it. And by the way, if you know any D&D people that you I don't know, play with, people that you know that like this sort of thing, let them know right now. Let them know. Let them know it's happening. Also, I don't care about the Eric Andre show. It's a absurdist comedy. Slaughter really likes it. Slaughter and his little game mouth. Okay, so I'm Piotr Online, about to run a fresh table. Where do you start when trying to make a campaign? I know my player count and will be using travelers for play. I don't know what travelers are. I don't know what terminology that means. I start. You can do two things. You can kind of have an idea of where you want it to go already, or you can just sort of feel it out at the table. And so if you want to feel it out, I would have just like one session's worth of like an introductory, you're hired by the Kingsguard to go into a dungeon or whatever the fuck you want to do. You know how that works. And then feel it out from there. You don't have to have a story. The story can come to you. You can just run modules. There's plenty of stuff on DM's Guild is a really good place to look for stuff. So yeah. If you have anything like that, or if you have ideas like that, like if you're lacking ideas, DM's Guild's a really good place to go. Talk to your players and be like, hey, what kind of campaign are you looking for? Are you looking for kill shit? You want a deep story? Do they watch Critical Role and they want like this awesome role play like grand thing? And then prep accordingly, because you never know. He's all the help you can offer. Oh, by the way, there's a little card. If you click on the top right, you can force me to answer you by doing a little Streamlabs. It'll pop up on my thing, and then I won't miss your question. My D&D session is cursed. We haven't played in 2 months. Yeah, that's called Game Blight, and it happens to the best of them. Jake, I'm taking Patreon away. Okay, sorry, buddy. Give it to Eric Andre. Just finished prepping tonight's D&D session, sitting here chilling with Jake while I wait on the folks to show up. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. What advice do you have for superhero tabletops? There's plenty of help for fantasy and sci-fi genres, but the supers get left in the dust. That's because superhero games are very different in like you already have powers. You know what I mean? I know there's a leveling system. It's not terribly different. But like general advice for any tabletop game is make sure that you're allowing fun. That's the number one rule. If it's fun, it should be allowed to be attempted. Also, I don't know if it's a D20 system, but natural 20s don't always mean things happen. Like for new DMs, this is a big problem. Like I read a meme the other day. One of my players sent me. I think it was Alex, and sent me. They're walking on top of a mountain, and the dwarf gets pushed off by an avalanche, and he's about to fall. And he's like, "Okay, can I flap my arms really hard to float in the air?" And the DM goes, "Okay, I guess." And he rolls a natural 20, and then the DM looks at him and goes, "Okay, roll again." And he rolls another natural 20, and then he explains how the dwarf can float over to safety. That's not how it works. It just does not operate that way. That's not how anything has ever happened. You can try as hard as you can, and you can give your exact best effort, but you won't be able to push a mountain over. So, are there sites that would allow me to download/print a D&D character sheet for free? Absolutely. Wizards of the Coast has character sheets. So D&D character sheet. It's literally the official Wizards of the Coast character sheets, and they have different variations. There's a link. Go ahead and click that, and that'll take you to it. Jake, you're streaming at the same time as Blair White. I must choose the trap. Okay. If that's what you want to do. Not a big fan. Hey, Jake Ta? When I DM my regulars, and anyone else really, I tend toward building epic feels, combat, and roleplay. I lean toward RP, though. Do you tend toward more genre realistic stuff, or epic too? I guess I don't really know the difference. Like, do you mean like realistic, like you have dysentery, or you like it's not Kingdom Come, it's Dungeons and Dragons. As it happens, dungeons are not that common in real life, nor are dragons or magic, or elves or dwarves. So no, I run it like it's a fantasy place. You know what I mean? I tend towards heavy roleplay, puzzle-esque fights. There's kind of a lot going on, and that's important because I want the players to feel like it's all on them when really it's some things are just out of your control in every situation, just like real lives. So dwarves are not real, midgets are real, very different. So yeah, I don't know. It's just I just ask what the players like. Like I asked early on what they like, but two of them, including myself, really like Critical Role, so we like the role playing, and then Hugo is a bard, so he likes to talk. He likes the role play as well, and then his girlfriend kind of likes just to kill shit, and that's okay because she's a rogue, so it works out. Do you play Pathfinder, or are you a little baby? No, I'm an adult, so I played Dungeons and Dragons. Missing some stuff. GM'd for the first night and felt like the hardest part was improvising whenever the party reacts to situations in ways I couldn't possibly imagine. Advice? Yeah, keep doing it, because that's just how you get better at it. I'm pretty quick on my feet. I'm a pretty witty person in general. I think that's probably obvious. But, we all struggle with it. It doesn't, I think being good at comebacks is probably an indicator you'd be a pretty good DM. If you can quickly think of comebacks, when you're roasting with your friends or something. I would try to think about it from a player's perspective, to think about like what their skill sets are. That's important. And think about how you would do it if you were, say, the rogue in the party, or the bard, or the wizard, or whatever, or the fighter. There's plenty of different ways, and you're not going to think of everything. There's no possible way you could do that, because sometimes they have items you don't remember you gave them, or they just have good ideas, or they roll something inexplicable. Like maybe the fighter rolls a natural 20 intelligence check on something, and he wasn't, who knew he was going to do that? And so he does figure something out that you thought the wizard might do, and then it's different. So yeah, just try to do, just try to cover your bases. And if they say, for instance, you have a puzzle, and they come up with a solution to the puzzle that maybe you didn't expect, but it sounds like it makes sense, just let them do the thing if they, with whatever applicable roles you have. If something's going to be hard, a difficulty class of 20, so a DC 20 roll, meaning you have to exceed 20 with your modifiers. So say a strength roll, they'd have to roll, whatever plus their modifier and exceed 20 to, push open a door or whatever. That's a hard one. A 15 is medium, and a 10 is typically very easy. 5 is super easy. So just kind of weight your stuff like that. I don't know. It's at first it can be a little bit daunting, I guess, because granted, there's like infinite possibilities here. So I'm trying to think of any more concrete. I really can't give it to you. You just kind of got to be quick on your feet. That's kind of like the whole DM's job here. Like Adrenaline Junkie stuff, high fantasy, you're an epic hero of the realm versus a standard adventure that goes out and does seemingly normal stuff for the genre, political intrigue, local muster. Oh, no. You don't. You level up to an epic hero. I mean, I don't like just starting at level 20. That's boring to me. Like, what are you accomplishing? Just fighting stuff? Meh. It's the story is about like getting there. I don't know. It's like starting Lord of the Rings, and like the ring gets left to Frodo, and then Frodo drops it in the volcano, and then the end. You know what I mean? Kind of boring. Adrenaline Junkie. The adrenaline part of it, I don't understand that. I don't know. You're already super powerful. You feel invincible. Vulnerability is the best feature of D&D in my opinion. Stephen Barnes, hey Dad, I'm playing D&D with my friends later. It's an ongoing group. However, my friend's fiance is joining us for a little. What is a good way to introduce a newer player to the group? Are you DMing, Steve? I thought you said you were a player, but either way, it just depends on where you're at. Like maybe you're all at a bar and then this person walks in. Maybe you're out in the wilderness. I had a player be introduced by being chased by trolls down a road. I had... how else did I have players introduced? I had one in slavery on the road. Others, all of them started out on a tour of the main city together. And then weird shit happens. There's plenty of different ways, but definitely have the player introduce their character as far as like the role play aspect and also the appearance. Like you can maybe say, and then over in the corner you see a figure, and then say, okay, hey blank, would you please describe your character to the group? The Human Bird. What advice do you have for when things are getting slowed down due to combat with a lot of combatants and the players are getting kind of bored / antsy? Stop doing that. You're going to have to just finish that combat however it shakes out because you started it. Or I guess you could insert an element of something. But if they're getting bored and antsy because your combat is boring, that's on you. You have to shake it up. It's probably too many enemies. Just having a bunch of bullet sponges is boring, but having things that are dynamic is interesting. So maybe consider, instead of 10 goblins, 4 hobgoblins. They can do a little bit more. There's not as much action economy, so everyone gets turns more frequently. And they're just as deadly. They get I think you have 2 fewer attacks between that. But they're more sturdy, and it's just more interesting. Consider having dynamic parts of the map happen. So maybe you're in a dungeon, and where there were 10 goblins just setting an ambush, maybe there's 4 hobgoblins setting an ambush by using prisoners as bait. So now you have this aspect of these prisoners, these people were abducted, maybe they're tied up, maybe it's like a kid or something. Pick someone that your group would be sympathetic for, usually. Maybe someone that's the same race as one of your characters, even. And then when shit starts turning, maybe if the players don't take care of the person laying on the floor, maybe have them start shooting crossbow bolts into the prisoner and start to fuck off. Or maybe it's in like a wood cabin, and they draw the characters in, and then they lock the door and set it on fire, and they have so many rounds to figure this out. I don't know, just there's different ways to do it. Not every fight needs to be to the death. Not every fight needs to be a slugfest. Think about real life. Is every single fight with whatever it is going to be the same way? And the answer is no. And also, consider elevations changes. Consider giving the monsters special items, boost their stats, lower their stats. It is fun if you want to do a bunch of goblins, for instance, because I assume in this scenario you're just throwing a bunch of low-level creeps at them, and that's not super fun. But use the minions. Minions are from, I believe it's 3.5, maybe it's 4th edition, I can't remember. I just took this idea from a fellow DM without looking at the book, so I don't remember. Basically, it's goblins they have like 12 AC and like 1 to 5 hit points. And then treat them like a swarm. So maybe there's a swarm of 5. So all of them together have 25 hit points, but every 5 you kill one. So if the say the rogue stabs 2 of them, does 10 damage, or just stabs the swarm, does 2 damage. You say that the rogue, jumps down from the platform, driving a dagger into a goblin right away, and then ducking under the sword, and then stabbing another goblin in the throat before using, cunning action, disengaging and running away. It makes it feel like you're killing hordes, instead of having to have, and they can do the same damage as goblins, but they just they're not as resilient, because at a certain point, I don't know, you could be, if they're getting bored with fighting, they're around level 5 at least. If they're bored with these low level things, they're probably higher, but they should be just slicing through that kind of shit at that point. You know what I mean? Like, they're a little bit beyond that. Acidic Horizon, you run 5e, that's correct. I do run 5th edition. I've missed some people in my long rant, but that's why I offered the Streamlabs, so that I maybe wouldn't miss everybody. But I feel the best campaigns I've been part of took a story and setting that was already a thing and make it our own world. Sword Art Online was the first one I did. Yeah, I mean, I get that, but that's not for me. I'm in my own world, and I think the players like it, because I wanted the players to inform what the world even had in it. Like, for instance, my girlfriend wanted to be an Aasimar. My buddy wanted to be an Aarakocra. So already I have an angelic and an air elemental race. I'm not forcing the air elemental plane on my players that early. I mean, you could, if that's something you're into, but it makes more sense to me that there's just bird people. They don't have to be from the air elemental plane, and they're not. And that's just, situation. I have a drow, so I made drow a little bit more common, so that's not super racist all the time, because that would get boring. Now, some places are absolutely racist, especially the elven places. But, it's not just... Drow aren't a thing that only live in the Underdark. And then I have a bard who is very obviously not human. He's a homebrew class. And so, yeah, it's well, he's a type of human, but yeah. What else you got for me? To me, the systems used in 5e seem to be easily transmogrified to other genres. Are there any genres that you think wouldn't work well? No. It's a very... I say this while also understanding that it is very complex. It is a simple system in that it's applicable for a lot of things. You do actions like with the D20, and the D20 is like the hands and mind of your character. You can move for free. You can take bonus actions. They have a specific action economy for every player and NPC, and it just works that way. It works really well. Now you can do really complex things, and you can there's not technically a mechanic for like running to a friend, jumping off their shield like it's like Captain America and Ant-Man, and then slamming down on something. But I can add rolls easily. I can add an acrobatics roll and a small strength roll to the person holding the shield, an acrobatics roll to the person jumping off, and give a little bit of a bonus to damage for something that's cool if they succeed on 2 different checks and hit the thing. Yeah, allow it. It's cool. So there's in the Dungeon Master's Guide for 5th edition, they have several different suggestions if you don't want to run a high fantasy campaign. They have low fantasy, they have no magic, they have tons of magic, they have future, when they even have stat blocks for like guns from muskets to rifles to laser guns. They have grenades, they have all sorts of stuff. So it's a system that really is applicable everywhere. I think the only things that it doesn't work for, although they have mechanics for it, so never mind. I was going to say like a stress mechanic like Cthulhu's, but they have that. They have a terror mechanic. So yeah, 5th edition is a really fantastic lattice for any tabletop system that you want to run. And it's simple. It doesn't have all these like floating modifiers. It doesn't have a ton of math. It does have math, but unless you're rolling, a sneak attack or a fireball, which are all the same dice, you're not rolling a fuck ton of dice unless you want to. Like, you can choose abilities that do these things. Like, my friend Alex plays the Aarakocra Ranger and Bloodhunter multi-class. He likes to roll different amounts of dice. He just loves that. So I give him items every once in a while that add dice or change dice. And there's a lot of math involved. He really likes the technical aspect of playing the character. So yeah, it just kind of depends what your players are like. What level range do you generally play and run for? Do you think D&D gets too easy at upper levels, especially if you have a wizard in the party? No, I don't think so. It's very well balanced. And like if it feels unbalanced, it's your fault. Balance it. You're the DM. You literally control the universe they play in. If the wizard is doing too many things, put an anti-magic shell around his ass. I don't care. Like, do something. You can make stuff up. It just, I don't know. The idea that anything could ever be not balanced in D&D is so bizarre to me. It's not a video game. It's not just encoding. It's not something you can't change. If you're, again, I have a rogue and a ranger and a barbarian. So they do a lot of damage, and there's 5 of them. They're always doing a ton of damage. And the other 2 are starting to really catch up in as much as damage dice as their spells increase, the bard, wizard, and the cleric sorcerer. And just increase the hit points. It's very easy. You can easily do some quick math and go, okay, what's the average damage for, a rogue? Well, the rogue does 3d6 plus 2d4. They're both plus 1 weapons, plus the dex modifier, so that's plus 4 each because she has 2-weapon fighting. So that's already 8. Each dice averages to about to half its value plus 0.5. So the average value of a d6 is 3.5, if that makes sense. So just do the math real quick and decide how much damage they do per round if they hit. Only if they hit. And I give the survivability of most mid-level fights 3 to 4 rounds of survivability, assuming they don't crit. And if they crit, they crit, whatever. Or if they fail, they fail. If they don't, it lasts longer. But a boss, I don't really balance for them anymore. They're level 7. They can figure it out. The only thing I balance for is the damage output of the boss itself. I try not to make it so that they can one-shot the whole party, and that they have options, because that just feels like it's being robbed. But in no way do I find D&D to be unbalanced. It's up to me to balance it, so just do that. Silver Falcon, there's no such thing as too many owl bears. Owl bears are the most pure and majestic creatures of the woods, and therefore you really can't ever have too much. You can. I agree, the wizard overpowered at high level option is flawed. I never had any troubles with that as a DM where there are melee in the party with a cat. Like, literally, if you just run a tank at the wizard, it's over for them. Like, an orc gets the aggressive action, which means it can move up to 60 feet, assuming that's not a dash, into the face of the wizard. So if you move, say you have 3 orcs, they all dash, and then they use their aggressive thing, right? Just 3 regular orcs. They can all move into the wizard's space. 3 of them. Meaning, if the wizard takes the dodge action, it can only disengage. It can only disengage from one of those, meaning 2 reaction attacks. It also means if they don't want to disengage, they have to stay there, even though the orcs can't attack yet. They can't make spell attacks to any 3 of them. So you have to have the other people come over and help the wizard, which means whatever you're pulling away from isn't getting hit. And then if you have any orc that has Banner of Command or anything like that, they can literally make things attack when it's not their turn, using their reaction as that attack. So you can force these things to not be overpowered. You just have to think about it and be a good DM, honestly. Like, do your homework. It's not that hard to be decent. It is hard to be great, and I strive to one day be great. But you'll forget shit. So, I mean, also don't be hard on yourself if they fuck up something that you planned for, because that's what they're there for. The players should be winning, right? It's not DM versus players. What you're supposed to do is give them a hard time, and the players should lose the game. You shouldn't win it. Does that make sense? It should be their fault. They should feel like I could have made different decisions to change the outcome. It should never be the DM just fucked us. Because if you've ever heard somebody say, this is how my character died, and they're angry about it, it's almost always because the DM just did shit that they shouldn't have been able to do. Because it wasn't realistic, it wasn't fair. I don't mean fair like balance. I mean fair like you clearly got outsmarted by the group, right? And then you just go, and then you hit a trap that wasn't there before, or reinforcements come from behind that you didn't plan for. Come on. If you want to, you can fudge a couple numbers and maybe give an enemy like 1 more round to act before it dies or something. Whatever. But, assuming you're not going to kill everybody, because that would be bullshit. If you go, okay, now it does 10d8 damage to everyone that heard it in the last hour, and there's no save, and you all die. The fuck, man? That's not fun for anybody. Is that even fun for you? Anyway. Well, you do have those players that will blame the DM for everything. Yeah, maybe, but you're the DM, so fix that. Be in charge of them. You are in charge. It's your game. If they don't want to play by the rules, and you could also maybe they're right. You might be wrong, and that's okay too. But they're probably wrong. I assume if you're a DM, you at least know something. They're probably wrong. And if they say, well, then maybe they just have a bad attitude and shouldn't be at your table. That's fine too. People who get mad when they take damage, that's fucking wild to me. Like, you're there to get hit. You know what I mean? Like, a fucking, I don't know, a rogue that doesn't use sneak attack and is bitching about how they don't do enough damage, or a wizard that's like, why can't I have a long sword? You picked wizard. You're not good at it. You can, but you're not good at it. So I don't know. Even my famously bad DM let me make my own backstory. You make your character, DM doesn't make character for you. Oh, Jessica Cooper. What about when the DM makes your character have a backstory in the village that you don't want? It's my first D&D, and my DM is supposed to make... Is the DM supposed to be backstory? No. The DM can influence your decisions, but it should always be your final decision. They might just not be creative enough to figure out a way to get you in the place they need you, because I assume they want you to be from a certain village because they already had something there that makes sense to tether you to. But if you want to be from somewhere else, he should just move the contents of that village. These things are in his head. It's not set in stone. You know what I mean? And if he's using a module, he can still do that. It doesn't matter. It's so simple to be a good DM. You try to say yes to your players as much as possible. That's the goal. Say yes to your players as much as you can. Now, sometimes they're just totally not going to be able to do a thing. Then that's okay. And they might get pissed off at you for it, just for a little bit. But if you play it fairly, you all, enemies also can't do that. Or maybe they have features that allow them, or whatever. You know, it should always be fair, and you should always be, trying to serve the characters. Like, I let all my players come up with their own backstories, and I was like, okay, well, here's what I got. Do you think that's interesting? And by the end of it, we got yeses from everybody. Everybody thought that was interesting, whatever their backstory happened to be. So, yeah. And some of them don't have fleshed out backstories, but if you watched... no, I don't. I haven't watched that. Seth Swiderski. How good are you at improv? That is, players going off in a way different direction than you anticipated and having to adjust on the fly. It's one of my favorite things to do when my PCs outthink me. Yeah, I've had sessions where I have 1 page of notes. I've had sessions where I've had 25. So, yeah, I'm really good at improv, personally. I think. They haven't really called me on it. Sometimes they think I improv things and I already actually predicted their movements, and I was like, no, I had that prepped for like a month. So yeah, it's just sometimes I try to say yes to them. Like I said, if they outthink me, they outthink me. Like if I have a puzzle I think is really clever and they just go, we walk around it. Oh fuck, that did work because I didn't think of that. Okay, yeah, okay, yep. This is a poorly designed dungeon, apparently. Whoever made this is a real idiot. And then, poke fun at yourself. That's fine. Fuzzy Cat, how important is role-playing? To me, it's the reason we play the game. We're there to escape, we're there to have fun, and we're there to be other people. Like, that's the point. Role-playing, to me, is the entire reason. Otherwise, you could just play Warhammer. You just play Warhammer. You could play, I don't know, any other tabletop game that's just combat. Because if you're not role-playing, you're just doing combat in medieval times. Which is fine, if that's what you want to do. But that's not what I want to do. Let's have a story. Let's tell a story and let's figure out where this goes. That's fun to me. Jake, how do I get into a different campaign with a better DM? Or how do I address these with him? It would be Big Nasty in the Discord. I would be Big Nasty in the Discord. Will you talk to them? Are they your friend? Talk to them. Be like, hey, this, and this are, not things. I had certain expectations, and these things are not meeting them. And if they're a good DM, they'll hear you out. Like that's just. Some people just can't deal with that shit, though. Like I am pretty stubborn, but if one of my players came up to me and was like, hey, can we do more of this? Absolutely is the answer. Of course we can. Hey, can we have more politics? Yes. Can we have less role-playing? I'll talk to the other players, but yes. Can we have more combat? Probably. I mean, I can do that. Like, I usually have at least one combat in every session because I know that one of our players, that's kind of all she wants to do, Hugo's girlfriend. She kind of just wants to get loot and kill stuff. Okay. The other players don't want to only do that. but I try to accommodate so that she has a fun moment in game. So yeah. Let me see. Well, isn't there an edition all about min-maxing and just fighting and getting loot? I mean, you could do that with any edition. I don't even play with miniatures. I have before. See, I like the miniatures a lot because it has a tactics to it. Because I don't know, in your head, just playing it in your head is kind of like people get lost. And they go, "Oh, where am I?" a lot, and I don't like that. I think positioning and fighting and being tactical is important, and I like the puzzle aspect. Like every fight is a puzzle that the players have to figure out, and that's what I like about it, and that's why I like having a visual representation. Now, minis, for the record, can just be like coins on a grid, or it doesn't have to be on a grid. You could just kind of measure it out or eyeball it or whatever. Sure, you can get to about there with your movement. Fine, that sounds good. You play it however you want, but I really like the on table stuff. Eden, I'm planning on DMing a game with a few friends. It's my first time DMing. Any recommendations for good campaigns for beginners? Absolutely. Where is it? Minds of Phandelver PDF. Is this it? Here you go. Run that. Minds of Phandelver PDF. It's the you have to when you do a module, you have to learn it. You have to actually read it and know a lot of stuff. But yeah, it's for DMing noobs and player noobs. It should teach everybody anything they need to know. How do you do gods and interactions with mortals in your world? I personally keep them hands off, but still with clerics and whatnot, they'll do something subtly helpful. My cleric can sometimes talk directly to her god, or get kind of like the gist of a text from the god, if that makes sense. Sometimes there's nothing. Just play it kind of. I make her make a religion check. She has some other stuff going on that has changed or influenced her connection to that god in different ways. We've explored that before. She used to get just visions, and so now there's like a I don't know. The mechanic is going to be different with every player, I think. Just kind of figure out what your player likes, and then when they get that moment, it's really cool for them. I suppose that makes sense, but most of my players are very experienced. I might sketch a quick map, but mostly rely on my words painting the picture. Yeah, that's fine. However you want to do it. I'm pretty experienced too, but I just appreciate the tactics of it. I don't know. I just really, really like the visual representation of these things. Because, our minds aren't perfect, and we can forget things. And a player, like the character in the game, say it's I don't know, Aragorn the fighter, or the ranger or whatever. He's more of a fighter in that, honestly, than a ranger. But I think Legolas is the ranger. But if there's a ladder, and while you're describing it, he forgets there's a ladder to a platform where you could get a better vantage point, he just forgets, and he doesn't use that. And that's just what happens. But if it's visually on the table, they remember, and there it is, and now they use that. And I think it just lends to a more tactical, realistic experience, because our brains are imperfect, and we forget details that we would otherwise notice and take advantage of if we were there in person as the characters. Weird question, Jake, but do you know what I look like? I do, my young son. What a young boy. Fuzzy Cat, do you ever fake your rolls just to make a session go a bit smoother? Hey, QP Mama, thanks for following. On Twitch. Do you ever fake your rolls to make a session go smoother? Example, something bad happens and you really don't want a player to die. I do not. Very rarely have I fudged rolls, and I only fudge rolls when it's my fault. Like maybe I threw something at them that was just stupid and it shouldn't have been done. And so instead of fudging rolls, I'll notice that when I rolled damage or, an ability or something, it was just too much. It wasn't something that they should have been given. Either by me, because I homebrew a lot of stuff. I think it's the only time I've ever done it. And so I'll just change the damage roll and I'll write a little note on the piece of paper, and the damage roll will just be different, or something. But I've never changed a D20 roll, I don't think. It's just more fun, There's not a reason to do it. And that was only early level. Like now, fuck it. They deal with what they get. They can wander pretty much anywhere, and so things are not balanced for them anymore. So whatever they run into is what they're in front of, and they can figure out how to go from there. That's their thing. File said it was missing. Well, just look up Minds of Phandelver, and you'll figure it out. Time Malik, $2 super chat. Thank you very much, Jake. How do I become as handsome of a DM as you? Grow a beard. Looks like you're freshly shaven. The beard is an illusion of handsomeness. Lil Jackson. Jake, what do you think about campaigns enemies? Which include 200 mages, which are all one token, one spell, the same enemy thrown everywhere, or literally gods who reincarnate in each. I don't know what that means. I don't know what any of that means. It's lasers. A few people in my group are rather new. What is a good way to encourage both good roleplay and table behavior? Well, first thing, have a discussion. Phones aren't really fucking allowed at the table. Pay attention. You got to lay down the law sometimes, and if that's not going to be followed, it fucks up everybody else's experience. That person can leave the table. I don't mind. And so, yeah, if that's the case, get out of here. I don't want you on my table. But I also want you to have a really good time, and so if it's my fault, I want to change that. So as far as the good role play, talking in voices yourself as the DM. I mentioned this on both stream and in the videos. If you look at someone who's not good at role-playing, and they don't have to do a voice, that's a misconception about role-play. You just have to talk from an I perspective instead of my character says perspective, if that makes sense. First person instead of third. That's all role-playing really is. And thinking in the headspace of your character, like, would Hugo run up to a dragon in real life? No, he fucking would not. But in this, he runs up to a dragon very confidently and lies to him because he's trying not to fight the dragon. That is Hugo's character. And he's very good at that. And so are a couple other characters. And all of them have had good moments. So yeah, also, as a DM, allow the spotlight to shine on everyone. It doesn't have to be forced. But when there's a moment, let that moment breathe. Let it happen, and don't influence it if you can. Jessica Cooper, how do you find other D&D players? Like when you move to a new city and don't know anyone there, check out your game shops. There's people all over the place. Also online, Roll20 is really good. On our official Discord, we have a tabletop section. Very cool. Stick a Boom, what's your opinion on evil campaigns? They can be good. It's interesting. It's got to be done right, and I think everyone needs to have very clear motivations and stick to those motivations. Something in my mouth. Ugh. But it turns into murder hobos pretty quick. So, unless you rein it in. So it should be a very specific thing. And maybe evil is the wrong word. Maybe it's just anti the law. Like for instance, an evil campaign could easily be Ocean's 11. Does that make sense? Like they're robbing a bank. They're robbing not only a bank but a casino. They're bad guys. They're definitely criminals, but they are redeemable in some way. Like maybe they wouldn't kill innocents. They're not terrorists, but they'll kill cops or they'll knock them out and rough them up. I don't think Ocean's 11 ever kills anybody, but you know what I mean. So there's different versions of evil. Just a lurker. Would you alter an Would you alter an encounter if a player is up to some shenanigans? For instance, a swashbuckler challenges a higher level NPC to a duel, but uses their class features to stay out of their reach. I don't know what you mean. That's literally just a ranged weapon away, and then you can just have them grapple the swashbuckler who most clearly hold your action until they come up close and just grapple them or something. There's no reason to not let them do that. Yeah, you could definitely beat a swashbuckler. They're not hard. You just got to think about what they're good at and then do the thing they're not good at, which is being strong and getting away from people. Would you allow a phone or laptop in place of a printout for people who have trouble organizing themselves? I like pen and paper because you will get organized. And tablets and stuff are clunky, and not a lot of people are good at them, and not a lot of people actually stay off their fucking phones. But sometimes it depends on the player. Do you know of any good online D&D sites with voice chat? Roll20. Although I like Discord with Roll20 at the same time, because Discord has better quality. About the campaign enemies from Lil Jackson. I meant that in my campaign there is one single enemy type. Besides them, there are bosses which are gods which control you. The campaign is garbage. Why? There's only one single enemy type? That's awful. Don't do that. No, don't do that. Don't ever do that. 9 failures, not a duel if the PC runs away the whole time. That's when RP comes in and the high level person just walks away and ignores them claiming victory. Well, it can be a duel. Thanks for the eyes. I played my first D&D game today. Congratulations, Scott Edwards. I'm very happy for you. I'm sure it was fun. D&D is fun. D&D is a good time, man. D&D is always a good time. That's not true. Sometimes people can suck. Sometimes people are annoying. The enemy type is a fat mage who creates bone pillars that crush us. I have fought probably about 80 of these. I can't remember the last enemy that wasn't one. That's terrible. I don't know why that isn't a thing. How would you deal with character death resurrection should it occur? I really like Matt Mercer's approach to it. I don't like that it's just basically 500 gold and you're alive. Yeah, I agree with Phoenix here. Swashbuckler's entire kit relies on dancing out of range. Yeah, I totally agree. Literally just hold your action until they come close. Like, it's an NPC. They can do the same things as PCs. It's not like if you threw swashbucklers at your team, at your players, they could never beat them. You know what I mean? Like, just approach it like a battle, if that's what they want to do. And beat them, because they deserve it. It's like 10,000 for True Resurrection. Yeah, but not for Revivify. Also, high-level parties have 10,000 gold. Or can get it. because True Resurrection lasts. They can be dead for like a year. If you lock a swashbuckler down, they can't leave. That is true. Also, status effects and stuff like that. Again, swashbucklers are not strong almost ever. I can't imagine a situation where they're strong. If they are and you're having problems with them, it's probably because you allowed them to have a much stronger character than they ought to. That's why I don't allow like large stat block choices. What drawing software does your lady friend use for her artwork? I don't. Is Procreate? I think it's Procreate on iPad. Yeah. That's right. It's Procreate. Ugh. Ugh. Boop, 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 boop. Bump, 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 bump. If the swashbuckler was actually closing and trying to make it like an actual duel, then I wouldn't penalize them. I wouldn't penalize them in any way whatsoever. Unless like it was like, is this like a formal duel? I don't. You just set rules like can't leave this circle, or you lose. Boom, done, fixed. I find big mistakes DMs make is they don't think of their NPCs as people who can think. That is true. Also, sometimes they think of as every NPC they put in forward as a tactical genius. Also not true. Harvey Manfred Jensenden. Would you ever consider doing an unpop review of the D&D movie? Can't imagine there'd be much meat on it from a player's perspective. But hey, yeah, no, that's a tragedy. That is a tragic day in cinema history. Oh, man. Yeah, I don't like the idea of penalizing your players for using their abilities. The thing that gets swashbucklers in general is damage. They don't have a lot of hit points, and often their AC isn't great. They're pretty dexterous, but you need light stuff. Simplified. I would only penalize if player was clearly griefing if they're not just playing their class. I get you. What's your favorite creature in the D&D universe? Ooh, Michael asked a good question after this. My favorite creature in the D&D universe. Oh, man. Probably the Lich. It's just got so much going on. And too bad I watched Crit Roll, otherwise I would have probably used something like Vecna, but it's not going to happen. Although Lichdom does exist. So maybe they'll fight one at some point, but he won't be the big bad. At least not now. Or maybe he will. I have no idea. Okay. What's the best way to give XP? I think this is how I'm running my campaign. From 1st to 10th level experience points. After 10th level, killing 1,000 goblins should not make you a better player. Does that make sense? Like, you could technically grind and kill a bunch of low-level bullshit. Now, I know that, like, it's up to the DM to change that, and that's fine. But just in my head, it doesn't make sense that you would get better at fighting for that kind of stuff. You'd get better at accomplishing goals. So I do event or milestone-based leveling after level 10. But in the first 10 levels, I don't. Thanks for subscribing, Biech91. So yeah, you can do it any way you want. I know some people that only do milestone, some people that do, there's a variant thing going on, and I forget how it works, but, some people are really liking the new alternate. I think it's in um, Wizards of the Coast blog or something. Gav C, how do you handle weird homebrew stuff? It depends. Sometimes you just can't use it. Sometimes you can. It just depends on what it is. Homebrew is something that I just read through and see if it's broken or too weak, or it's almost always too strong if it's not useful. Mind flayers are badass. I don't ever directly penalize my players when I DM. I let the world react in realistic ways that can be punishing. Murder hobos go to jail. People who cheat in duels may get jumped later. Yeah, stuff like that. Paul Armstrong, thanks for subbing. What are your thoughts on hardline atheists that make their characters atheists despite the fact that they can literally meet gods? Well, if they meet gods and they are an atheist, I would assume is because they have skepticism and because they desire evidence, and then when met with evidence, they ought to believe, right? Now, I think in Critical Role, Percy was basically an atheist. I don't know if they ever use that word. They may have. They don't really care that much. But he's met gods, and so it started out very skeptical, and then it was more not skeptical of the existence, but rather skeptical of like the motivations and the actual divinity and powerfulness of these certain things and the efficacy of them, like the effectiveness. So, I mean, there's definitely ways to play it. It just, it just depends. What are your thoughts on supplemental stuff like Xanathar's Guide and Lost Notes? Xanathar's Guide is a rule expansion. It's not supplemental, really. I mean, it is supplemental and then you don't need it. It's not supplemental in that it's like DLC. You know what I'm saying? It is in the game. Does that make sense? They offer rules expansion and some other shit that's I think is really great. Yeah. Percy knew gods existed, but he just didn't believe in them. Yeah, that makes sense. Like, he didn't have faith. Not, like, how you can't have faith in someone else because they're flaky. It's like that. Lost Notes. Is that a thing? Oh, Xanathar's Lost Notes to everything? That is a DM's Guild thing and is not technically canon. So, like, apply it however you think works. I think whatever you feel like enriches your game is good. Like, it doesn't have to. It can come from just your head. So why can't it come from somebody else's? Bump, bump, bump. How do you like the idea of a weak grounded campaign? Your characters, even at level 20, are about the same power level as a veteran soldier, and at the beginning are everymen. Yeah, I can get into that. That's called a low magic campaign, and that's fine. The problem with that, though, is that everybody ends up being pretty much the same character at the end, like skill wise. Like you're gonna be fighters and rogues. You can't be rangers; they cast magic. Fighters, rogues, barbarians, monks. That's really it. I do like the idea of starting everybody at give them like 2 skill points. Let's call it 3 skill points from whatever their racial trait gives them, and then everything else is base 10, and then you just see what happens. That's kind of more my speed, but because not everyone's exceptional. But I kind of like the idea of the reason your players are thrown into the shit is because, like, there's sort of this implicit sort of, like, destiny calls aspect to being a D&D party. Like, you're always the one that fixes the problem. Why is that? You're exceptional as far as the skills are concerned. And also, I think probably the gods are pulling strings in ways to make you go to a certain, place. Let me see. Hail DM dude, thanks buddy. You could have them be a starter mage. You could work it all in, but I get the idea. It gets me out. Yeah, yeah, I know. You could. I just like maybe maxing out their actual character level at level 15 or something. But and like starting them at -2, to where they wouldn't have proficiencies in anything, and then they have to learn to be like you're just a commoner, and then you learn to be a fighter or you learn to be a rogue or whatever. That's fun too, and that's a campaign I would personally love to play. But I think for new people, because there's not numbers for that, just go by the book the first couple times until everyone's comfortable. And then you can play something with more challenge like that. But it is cool. To give your players the ability to train feats during downtime. I have not done that for feats, specifically because feats are a leveling option. Now, I would let them learn different skills, and they have, but usually it's off the book skills or off, not in book skills. So, for instance, my ranger learned to craft specific types of arrows. My bard wizard Hugo, he can invent things. He took a very specific subclass, and he can kind of spend materials and time in his workshop to do certain things that not every other character can do. The rogue can create poisons and stuff. Yeah, so there's just different stuff. I don't like feats though. Feats should be earned by leveling, in my opinion, and the give or the take between taking skill points when you level up during level 4, 8, and so on, or actually just like doing the thing. Yo, you rock! I'm a starting DM and love your idea for your goddess with the silo. Yeah, steal it. Her name's Isolfa. She's the goddess of bounty and doesn't just represent one single type of bounty. This pen top just popped right the fuck off. That was impressive. She represents all bounty. So bounty in love or friendship or property or just anything. Anything that you think is representative of, bounty in any conceivable fashion. Doesn't have to be anything in particular. There we go. Almost played a campaign as a wizard who didn't believe in the existence of the gods because she had never encountered any of it. I mean, that's fine. Thoughts on Pathfinder / Starfinder? Both have really cool supplements for D&D 5th edition. Like the cardboard cutout thing. Pathfinder and Starfinder. There's not a lot of balance. There's a lot of overpowering. Both have really fantastic ideas, but not a lot of balance. And the game design is really lacking in Pathfinder. I have 2 ex-Pathfinder players, actually 3 now, and all of them prefer 5th edition. It's more rewarding experience. And there's not as much math, and there's not as many stats and abilities and stuff like that. It's kind of all lumped into these more general but still pretty specific categories. I think they balanced it pretty well, actually. I do think, of course, Starfinder is cool, for the space aspect. Pathfinder has interesting class ideas that I think translate well over to D&D if you change, obviously, a lot of the stats. So yeah, I think it's brain candy to put towards a 5th edition campaign, and otherwise it's going to be meh. Do you only use the base character races or all 22? I use everything I have a book for, and if they have a homebrew that they want to discuss, we will discuss it. And so I use more than 22, technically. I use whatever you can think of, as long as it stays with the pattern of giving 3 skill points, a small set of proficiencies, usually 2 skills. Some languages. Usually there's a racial feat. So yeah, as long as it sticks to that kind of shit. I hate weak creatures with really high AC to hit them at very low AP. Whose dumb idea was that? As the DM, just if they have an 18 AC but like 20 hit points, give them 15 AC and 50 hit points. You're welcome. That was easy. Do you follow strength levels strictly, or do you follow heroic feats, aka Captain America high-fiving Thanos? Or do you allow heroic feats? I guess I don't know what that means. Like what they can do with their strength number? I mean, I just make a judgment call. I don't really do the math. I mean, if you have a 9 strength, -1 modifier, you probably can't, high five Thanos very well. I don't know. Do you have a favorite DMing story? Oh, wow. Yeah, I have a lot of favorite DMing stories. This group is really fun. Yeah, probably my favorite is the 4 of them were they went to a fighting ring, and I have another one after this too. I was just so proud. They went to a fighting ring, and they had the opportunity to introduce each other. And so the bard, of course, took charge and introduced everybody, and then the cleric decided to introduce the bard, Hugo's character, and my girlfriend was the cleric, and she introduced him, and she started stumbling over her words in real life, and was like, he's very odd, debauchery, and then we just start laughing about, she said odd debauchery, and so the crowd started chanting odd debauchery when the bard started doing well in his fight. And so now he is known infamously as Odd Debauchery. And so it was very fun. The dragon, that was another one. The rogue and the ranger, Hugo's girlfriend and my buddy Alex, hid off to the side. And there was a dragon approaching the town. And through some events, they ended up having to do a job for a dragon that they didn't want to do, but they were kind of forced because they were worried about the actual, fighting a dragon. And so they basically came up with a plot to fake the cleric's death to make the dragon not pursue them for not fulfilling the quest, if that makes sense. Like, oh, we went to do the quest, and the thing you sent us for killed us. Killed my friend. And then so he pretended to cry, and he was rolling performance checks, and then he wrote an actual note out about like how the cleric was pregnant with his child, and then died, and and he kept rolling really well on his deception and persuasion checks, and the dragon did not properly insight check the lies, and so that was a really good role play moment, and there's a lot more. It would take me like an hour to explain that whole situation to make it really funny. A man of odd debauchery. But yeah, so basically the point was that the professor here, Hugo's character, in an effort to outwit a dragon, claimed that his character and the cleric were banging and had a child on the way, which is very hilarious if you were to know how unlikely that pairing would ever be, because they just butt heads constantly on like all the topics. But the time I was really, really happy was most recently in a puzzle room. There was a puzzle with different seasons and stuff, and there was about like 12 ways to fuck it up. And they played it smart and slow and measured, and they succeeded, and they didn't run into a single hazard on that whole puzzle level. and it was awesome. I was super proud of them because in the past they have not been very tactically sound, and it was just bad. Alex Dilko, what's the minimum number of campaigns someone should play before considering a DM? Just do it whenever you want it. You might be bad at it though. If you can't do math, don't do it. And if you can't lose all the time, don't do it. So, yeah. And now Legend of Phoenix is that cleric, and she is now constantly fielding dead baby jokes, or just jokes in general about being preggers from the professor, which is funny. Guys, I really wanted nerd ropes the other day, and I couldn't find any at the store, so I bought a box of nerd ropes. I bought a whole box of them, and they're so good. I just had a craving, you know? Sometimes you just need a nerd rope in your life. Anyway. Got any more questions, kids? Also, if you're interested, I do have a Twitch. I might actually be streaming there later as well. I wanted to put something out on Unpop and do some D&D stuff. But that Twitch right there, that's mine. So if you are... if you're a fan of this show and you like video games, or you like just hanging out sometimes and just do talkie streams, do that. Booger Taffy in school? Dude, this is so good, dude. They're so good. Look at this. Look at this shit. It's like a fucking... Oh, man. I don't really like candy. I'm not a big candy guy. But, oh, boy. Just... Oh, what... I love nerd ropes. Black Mormon. Aaron Ra is coming to my town on April 5th. Go check it out. Aaron's a cool guy. I've had lunch with him like 3 times. Been to a couple different things. Nice dude. Really great storyteller. Very visually striking, as you may know. Taller than you think. He's just pleasant to be around. He's one of those guys that just... He's very effusive. He's got this really good personality. I strongly recommend, if you got a shot, meet him once, at least. He's a cool dude. Eden! In my current game I'm playing in, my character is the only lawful good one. The rest are chaotic, which leads to some fun friction. Should I try to play my character or let the rest have it? Oh, play your character however they would react. Absolutely. What do you guys normally do for gaming snacks? We kind of all do our own thing. But sometimes I'll cook food, or we'll order pizza. Mostly it's chips and drinks, though. I don't really snack a lot during that, though. What did you think of the new options for elves in the Tome of Foes book that was due out in May? I haven't looked at it, but I want to. I'm getting Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, though. Tome of Foes. I played D&D once, got to play as a pixie monk. It was very broken, and I recommend it to everyone now. Why is a pixie monk broken? Pixies are easy to hit, aren't they? Let me see. Pixies should not be hard to hit. Pixie. Pixie 253. Pixie, armor class of 15. Their hit points are 1d4 per level. Negative to Constitution plus to Dexterity. No, it shouldn't be broken at all. A 1d4 per level is really bad. But you get to be tiny. And you get proficiency in stealth and perception. And I would give you innate spell casting. Yeah. Did he give you the at-will polymorph? Is that why it was broken? Because I would not give you polymorph until you reached probably, what, 5th or 6th level? They don't have a high HD. They have a 20 dex, so it's +5. It's base 10 +5. It's just 15. There's a homebrew for the picture race. Yeah, I know, but in the DMs, in the monster manuals, where they get their points for. The elves can have a gift from their creator, Corellin Lorethian, which can allow them to switch their sex at the end of every long rest and can choose between male, female, or none. Oh, I see. It was just a bunch of people who are like, the SJWs! Yeah, I don't care. If you want to change your gender, you can be whatever you want, man. It's D&D, dude. D&D is the only place you can actually be a dragonkin. That's real. On top of that, I chose some special things since I was a pixie that gave me some kind of bonus being a monk. I don't know. Is there a way to play D&D where the religions don't have any power, like the real world? Yeah. Just play it without, divinity. That's fine. It could just be innate spell casting. You just kind of, you can make the clerics even believe there are gods until you you get there. And then the power was always in you. Are you a fan of traps in dungeons? Any particular types? Ones with dicks. Yeah, I like dungeon traps. I don't have a favorite. I think anything that is interactable with the characters are fun, are most fun. Not just pressure plates and like darts pop out. But something that maybe is an obvious trap that you have to traverse. Something like that. Like it's a puzzle and maybe you don't have all the pieces yet. But monks also add their wisdom modifier to their AC. Yeah. But they don't start with a 20. I don't think you understand what I'm saying. All monks can add that. The only thing is that as a pixie, you just get a bonus to dex. It'd be the same thing. I would do a -1 to Constitution and a +3 to dex. And then if you want to, to a max of 20. So. Sphere of Annihilation in a tunnel is always fun. Kind of. Sphere of Annihilation is more of a... Yeah. It's just more of a... Fuck you. You know what I mean? Now, I'm not going to do that if I find a good spot for a Sphere of Annihilation. But I think Sphere of Annihilation is kind of better for like housing something the players want rather than being just a trap. If that makes sense. To be fair, it's my DM's first time, so we probably flubbed it up. Yeah, it probably did. That's okay though. If everybody had fun, it doesn't really matter. It wouldn't be broken. Like if you wanted to be a pixie monk in my campaign, I would allow it. It would just be not as broken as you think. And I would probably do a D6 instead of a D4 for health. But yeah. How do you go about creating a space opera setting using D&D 5e? Just do it. Chat is getting cut off there. There we go. We'll just do that. Sorry about that. Just like the 5e is just the lattice on which you build. So if you want it to take place in a space opera setting, just do that and use the D20 system they put forth, and then change the monsters and weapons and stuff to fit your system. It's really easy. Fidel Antonio Ferreira de Mello. I once played in a group of all evils. We raided a village, killed every man, and sold the women to slavery, but the DM didn't allow us to take any pleasures with them. Yeah, I'm into that. I don't think rape fantasies are for the table. Go play Fatal. How do you treat Paladin oaths? So I don't have a Paladin, first of all, but are you strict or liberal in enforcing their whole break your oath and become an oath breaker? I would do it. Okay, the way I would treat that is the same way I treat stuff like petrification or, I don't know, any other insta-death spells or effects, where I would give the player ample notice that, hey, this is a thing that you are choosing by doing this. Like if they try to cast, like say if part of their oath is not to kill innocents, but they make a call that they want to like blow a bridge up and there's innocents on it, I will let them know that you know in your heart, and you get a feeling if you take this action and it succeeds, this could possibly lead to breaking your oath. That's just a thing that could happen. And let them know, like, because the character would know. Even if the player's not thinking about it, the character would be. Because the character is actually a paladin that remembers taking that oath and lives every day by that oath. In the times you're not playing the game, the player goes home and isn't beholden to that oath. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't let them get snuck up on by that kind of shit. Unless I'm snuck up on by that piece of shit. By that kind of shit. Would do something fun like Bugbear Paladin Oath of Treachery for Jake's game. Yeah, you don't want to do that. You would not want to do that. It's a good campaign. Bugbear's fine. Not the Oath of Treachery. My arm hurts and I don't know why. That's a heart attack, dude. Just do another bump of coke. It'll work itself out. Dude, does anyone want a nerd rope? They're fucking delightful. So good. Oh. 17 Spy Guy. Make sure if you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them, by the way. Don't think I will avoid you. I really want to answer your questions. We're too goody two shoes. Yeah, it wouldn't work. 17 Spy Guy. I had a D&D character who was based off of the owls of Ga'Hoole. So he's just literally an owl with armor. Low damage and hit points, but hard to hit. I never played him, but I've always wondered. That'd be boring. It'd be really boring. I don't know what an owl of Ga'Hoole is, but yeah. That wouldn't be great. Just play an Eric Cochran. Just make him an owl. Or are you not pointless? You know? Unless you want to be pointless. But I don't know why you want to do that. Never have any interesting things occur. Dude, nerd ropes are so good. They are more selfish. Yeah, I still don't think that would work. Bugbear is fun, though. Especially since they killed one very early on. You should try Gay Bacon. Airheaded. I don't like most candy. But Nerd Ropes, I'm all about them. Nicholas Moore, do you allow rogues to disarm magical traps? I tend not to let them unless it has a mundane trigger. I bring this up because of an argument with a rules lawyer. Oh, rules lawyer, love it. If they are proficient in Arcana, meaning they have training in Arcana, yes. If not, maybe. If it's not just runic, if it's not just magic, if it's a mechanical trap, because that's how it would work. Like, why would you be able to take your thieves' tools out and disarm a rune? That doesn't make sense. Rules lawyer is wrong, because I'm not sure it says every trap can be disarmed. Like maybe they can pop a gem out of the rune and that'll work. But some things, like, you can just set the DC so high they can't even reach it. Like, set it to DC 30 on a trap disarm check. Because you just wouldn't succeed. And that's okay. But a wizard would have a lower DC because it's arcane in nature, right? So, yeah. DCs change by character, by the way, for me. Almost always. Depending on the thing. Like, for instance, opening a door. You think, oh, pushing open this door is a DC 15. Okay, but it's a DC 20 for a character with 9 strength, but a DC 10 for a character with 20 strength, right? Because your natural strength affects how difficult a thing is. So do it. If they fail, that's great. But, or vice versa. Use magic item trait from the thief traits. Let's explore this. I don't see use magic item anywhere. Where's that? Use magic device. By 13th level, you have learned enough about the workings of magic that you can improvise the use of items, even when they are not intended for you. You ignore all class, race, and level requirements on the use of magic items. The use of magic items, I would not. I would say your DC goes down, for sure. Also, just get proficiency in Arcana, and it's totally changed. Or add a little bit of spell casting. Not a big deal. Also, allow your rogue, who is good at disarming traps, to help your wizard disarm the trap. That's totally fine. Basically, just give the wizard advantage on disarming the trap with whatever thing you got going on, or whoever the spellcaster is. Or give the rogue, if they really want to disarm magic traps, give them, some magical thieves' tools that allow them to do this if they would like to. But sometimes you're not going to be able to do it, and that's okay. Just get over it. And they can't brute force. Don't let your characters brute force D20 rolls. They get 1. You get 1. That's the best possible effort is whatever they roll on there. And they can, you can add time to it. If they roll a 10, or if they roll a natural 20, it could still take 5 minutes to unlock a door. You know what I'm saying? So, thinking of making a multiverse traveling character who would make cameos across my group's campaigns. What traits do you think would make such a character memorable, or is it an idea to begin with? Well, they definitely have to have a strong personality. The first thing I thought of was, why is he traveling the multiverse? And I think it'd be interesting if he always had a magical item that represented the pathway they're in, and that he was kind of an Easter egg character in whatever plane of existence they happen to be in. And they'd have to buy it from him, but, or do a job. Maybe he could be a quest giver. It'd be fun. 17, Spy Guy. How often do you roleplay NPCs in the world? If often, is it hard to come up with the creatures' voices and personalities on the fly? Depends on the context. Like, if we're just having a general discussion, I don't. But if it's a one-on-one, like a shopkeep typically, anytime there's any real information given. But you don't always have to. It just depends. Kind of like for expediency, like if it's getting late, I might avoid a roleplay session late. Or I might make one go long if I think they blew through something. You know what I'm saying? So it's just kind of up to the pacing of what you want to do, because real conversations take a long time. I need to find a DM that will let me play an owl bear wizard. Owl bears aren't smart enough to be wizards. Better. Because owl bears are boring. A wizard trapped in an owl bear's body, or event got put in there, like maybe true polymorphed and left, but for some reason the spell didn't affect the intellect of the thing. I think a wizard that is an owl bear, not an owl bear that is a wizard. Does that make sense? I think that makes more sense. Otherwise, you'd be very crippled, just based on the rules owl bears have set forth. D&D rules seem as complicated as original Yu-Gi-Oh card descriptions. I don't know what that means, but it's not complicated. It's really not complicated. They're pretty straightforward. Like, basically, could you do this in reality if you had the same skills? And the answer is either yes or no. Point. Nice to see you didn't poo-poo bugbears. My one DM hates everything I want to play. I don't know why. Yeah. Yeah, I think play what you want. We'll try to make it work. Lil Jackson. One thing I hate about this campaign I'm in is when I get into a spat with other players, I'll hide. They'll do a perception check, fail, then do it 12 times until they pass, and the DM lets them. Yeah, your DM's bad. You should bail. That's not how it's supposed to work. Best idea I ever saw was a wizard's dog who found a scroll that allowed him to talk. So now he's a wizard pup looking for his master. That's kind of fun. How long does a D&D game done right should last? Do you mean one session or one campaign? There's no real answer to this. It just depends on how long all of you set aside. Each of our sessions is about 8 hours long on Sundays. Between 6 and 8 hours. Sometimes longer, sometimes shorter. Very rarely shorter than 6 hours. Yeah, it just depends. I think you always want to feel like you accomplished something in a session, though. Whether that be roleplay, backstory, items, selling stuff, fighting and killing a thing, traversing a landmass. There should always be an accomplishment somewhere in the session. So that's the pacing I put in there. He's just a cranky DM. He doesn't allow bugbears because of reach and surprise attack. I don't mind losing reach. He hates to backseat because of a bad experience with a player, etc.
Ramble was just a gorilla.
Agent Now followed on Twitch. Thanks, dude. Probably not watching right now. Bugbears can have reach. They're just not good at other shit. That's fine. I think, you're large, which isn't always a good thing. So sometimes you can't go into spaces other characters can go into. How do you handle 3D combat in the air or water? That's a good question. Chessex dice boxes are clear boxes. And they're about yay high. And they're clear. I use them as platforms to show flight. But then for Christmas, Sarah got me multi-platformed things. So we actually played in the water recently. and it showed the different depths of water. And so we just did that on a 3D plane, up or down, and just kind of make sure you handle movement vertically as well as horizontally. So like a 30 feet of movement straight up is still 30 feet of movement, right? Not just sideways. So they can't go 30 feet and then 30 feet over. So unless they dash, I guess, of course. So that's how I handle it. There's also, I mean, there's plenty of things you could do. You could just get a soda can. You could use ibuprofen. You could use your very, very sexy cologne bottle and set that there, and then set the mini on the top. So yeah, that's how I deal with it. Nerd rope. Oh. Oh. Yeah, bugbears are considered medium because they're 6 and 8 feet tall, between 250 and 350 pounds. You have reach, you have dark vision, speed, sneaky surprise attack, language. I mean, bugbears are pretty good. What I would probably do, you lose the proficiencies. It seems pretty balanced to me. I just think it's something you got to work with. Like for instance, like polearm mastery would not extend the reach. I don't think it may to 15, but nerd rope sponsor win. Why do you keep ibuprofen on your desk? Because I get optic migraines sometimes. So I just have them. Yeah, the clear part, the Chessex come in. Yep. It's exactly what we do, Ashton Phoenix. Exactly, and there is space under there for a normal size mini. Assuming it's not very wide. Boy, I love nerd ropes. That is exactly right. Did you ever have a chance to try Snurtles candy? Nerds on an extra chewy fruit roll-up-y strip. Super good, but they don't make them anymore. I've never tried that. Snurtles? Snurtles? Oh, they had like Super Mario Snurtles. Fruit strips with candy on it. Wowzers. No, I've never even seen that in my life. That's not a thing I'm familiar with. Neat. Planning on having an Alex Jones hobgoblin character in my campaign who is suspicious of all lizard people and thinks he's sent on a mission as a spy, but really the mission was a joke by his superior. I like that, actually. I wouldn't name him something so on the nose as Alex Jones, because I wouldn't want the other players to really get who I'm going for right away. But yeah, that could be fun. But what happens when he finds out the lizard people aren't, like, he's not there? He should be really disheartened, I think. I like this kind of character to start out comedy and end up sympathetic, by the way. I think that's really good role playing if you start out with this crazy, like, imagine finding out like Alex Jones was just this like tragic figure, and it just ends up being more sad than it is already funny. Believe it or not, I don't like full comedy campaigns because real life isn't always funny. Bump 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 bump. The reach does stack. No, they only get their turn. But I think it's cheesy anyway. Would never take a reach weapon with bugbears. Right. Either way, like, reach isn't that big a deal. just for opportunity attacks, but I mean, I could easily make that not work for you. I'm only casually racist. Okay. I do not have time for D&D. Are there any games that are more casual version of D&D? Who doesn't have time for D&D? Yeah, Divinity Original Sin is kind of close, I guess. But there's nothing that you're going to get the D&D experience with if you're not willing to spend time doing it. Like, I don't think there's anything. Yeah, but Final Fantasy is 60 hours worth of game, at least, probably 120. No, if you like RPGs, you're just in it and you set time aside. Like, that's just really what it is. Well, yeah. Of course it would, but also, like, how often are you gonna find armor fit for a bugbear? You're not. So it comes with other stuff that normally you shouldn't be able to get, or it would be much more expensive or just harder to find. Like that kind of stuff. Like if you find like, oh, I have plate armor that I found on the ground that was on a dwarf. Well, you can't wear it. You know what I mean? 8 hours every week. I work 50. No, I'm not. No. You don't have to play 8 hours every week. You play when you have time. And I don't know why that's. Why would you? There's Eric, my guy. There's there's not like a timer. You could play 1 hour every week or 8 hours every month. However often you and your friends want to get around to it. I don't understand this idea here. Doesn't really make sense. Munchkin is okay. It's not really D&D though. I only ever got good armor when I got an all-fitting goddess armor as a bugbear. Our second campaign is like, what, 3 to 4 hour sessions? If that. I don't think we've ever reached 4, have we? We might stay on voice till 4 or for 4 hours. But typically we play for about 2.5. It's pretty short. Well, if you can't find 120 minutes somewhere within like a 2 to 3 week span, like there's something going on with your life that maybe leisure time isn't for you yet. Like I worked 50 plus hours, did the show full time, and went to school full time, and I definitely had time to play D&D in there. So I just think it's how you want to spend your time, not whether or not you have the time. Working 50 hours is a thing I have done, and you have downtime. Do you have a favorite magical item, either to give players or you think it's unique, funny? No, I think Ring of the Goat is a funny one, where you can just like pick something up and eat it. But yeah. Yeah, we only have Sundays all off because everyone decided to take that day off of work. And obviously Hugo and I have a different schedule than everybody else, but yeah. Once a month sessions. Yeah, once a month is typically what people end up doing. Again, I don't know. Weekly is a luxury for some people. Most people probably. Unless you work very common 9 to 5s and have reliable people. Some people just are not that though. Bag of holding, but it only holds items starting with the letter H. Interesting. Okay, so would it work on all helmets then, or only helmets whose title starts with like Helm of blank instead of Dread Helm? Just saying. And who named it those things? Interesting. Almost done answering your questions, so this is the last call for questions. Yeah, Dark Beast, you seem to have pretty shitty DMs. That's so weird to me. I think there's a problem in the nerd community where people feel inadequate and thus have to try to flex their nerd muscles in that way. And that makes sense, I guess. Inadequacy or feeling that way can lead to that. Is it weird that this is your job? Not really. I'm pretty used to it at this point. I was going to talk for a living anyway, being a teacher. So, hey, PB Jake. I don't know. Thoughts on Sai-10 Bruggencate? Oh, what a good guy. That guy sure is good at arguing. What do you think my Sai-10 Bruggencate is? Katie Hen, you can get it on technicality as long as you name it correctly. The story is a helm, but you can't only recall it with the same name, otherwise it's stuck in there. But I have the shittiest. This competition. I win this. No one wants to be the worst, the player with the worst DM. Tell you that. Ugh. What's your favorite song from the 40s or 50s era? As thanks for running such a great stream, I'll make it the first song on the radio in my group's game. Let me see. I don't know what actual. I don't know. Let me see. Holy shit. Jimmy Dorsey killed it in 1940. Let me see. Oh, here we go. Here we go. We'll play it for you. Here it is. Well, that's we can't play that yet. What the fuck is that? Oh, it's just Pacific Rim. What a terrible thing. We'll play the song real quick. Am I gonna get DMCA'd for this? Yeah, a little bit.
Down, babe, lay that pistol down.
Lay that pistol down. I'm gonna turn it
pistol
down.
Oh, drinking beer in a cabaret.
There you go. Pistol Packin' Mama by Bing Crosby and the Andrews Sisters, circa 1943. Let's do that one. Yeah, you'll like that one. 17 Spot Guys, this is TBR Hugo and Jake show. Question: will you be doing any Jehovah Witness stuff like Chick Treks videos or just analysis? Yeah, probably. You might have a point, Jake. I forgot what the point is that I made. Probably the inadequacy thing. I feel awkward doing the roleplay stuff in person, says Careless Whiskers. Do people do this over the internet now? Yes, they do. I'm old and don't know how this works anymore. I think I might lose something doing it over text. Yeah, you can do it on Discord and Roll20 and stuff, yeah. Still want to treat you to a drink sometime, perhaps even dinner. I will eat your food. You nearly fell flat out of your chair when you heard that song? Come on, dude. Be more stable. Oh. Yeah, that's a good song. That's a really good song. By the way, if you... Bing Crosby, the... Bing Crosby's great. Perry Como, Freddie Martin. Sinatra, of course. Nat King Cole. There's a bunch of one-hit wonders in the 40s, too. What was the Twitch channel again? Twitch channel is right here. Fall out my chair. Nice. Twitch.tv/actualjake.
Her ramble was just a
then we'll do that. Gabriel Cowley is now following. Thanks so much, dude. Following LA Noir, yeah. Thanks for coming by. I really like these streams as well. There's so much more to D&D that just needs actual questions than I can just make strict videos about, but I'm probably gonna make another D&D video soon here. I also have a couple more episodes. I'm playing some games over at Twitch. I might just upload some videos from Twitch to here as well. So, food is lately Bennigan's or Logan's food. I'm cheap. Spucky's. Well, I like Spucky's. We were just at Bennigan's recently. We actually haven't been to Logan's, so maybe we'll do Logan's. I don't know. But yeah, maybe we'll. If you guys don't know, Dark Beast lives like literally in my neighborhood, so or thereabouts, very close. So yeah, that's it for me. Bennigan's was pretty good. Very deep fried there. One last question from Phil Keir. How much of your audience is from the U.S.? I'm a European fan, and I was wondering if there would ever be reason for you to fly across the pond. The reason would be I got paid to do so because it's very expensive. If you can find people that also I need a passport. I would absolutely love to come over there. But I need travel for probably both Hugo and I and our girlfriends. And of course we'd get passports, but and of course lodging and stuff. And probably a speaking fee. It'd probably be way too expensive to get a group to want us to come over. But
ramble was just a gorilla.
Yeah. Closet Land, thank you for following on Twitch. We have I think it's close to 85% are US, and then after that it's Canada and the UK, and then everywhere else. We have actually pretty good like Finnish, Swedish, Norway, Germany, stuff like that. Some South Africans. We even have some Israelis and Chinese, Japanese, Australian, New Zealand. But yeah. Best thing at Bennigan's is the nachos. Now I want Benny's nachos, dude! Slaughter, are you just trying to do butt stuff to me, dude? Come on now. Jake Eskimo Kiss Me, you furless and slightly patchy teddy bear.
Her ramble was just a gorilla.
Wait, that's butterfly kisses. Eskimo kisses are the nose rubs. Randy2275, thanks for following over on Twitch. Iceland's just frozen. The Monte Cristo is a fucking monster, and I don't want to have a heart disease. Anyway, that's it for me here. I'll probably jump on stream on Twitch later tonight playing some games with my friends. If you want to do that, head over to twitch.tv/actualjake, and I'll be there. But yeah, until then, I love you dearly. And it's been fun. Divinity, though, yeah, maybe Divinity. We'll see. I don't know if I'm into it, but yeah, maybe. Love you guys.